take a shot because this, see that, is not going down anymore. So I have type 1 diabetes, and that's a disease that affects your pancreas. Your pancreas is the thing in your body that produces insulin. When you eat, sugar from the foods that you consume goes into your bloodstream, and after it's in your bloodstream, it spreads all across your body so all of your cells have access to the sugar. What insulin is supposed to do, it's supposed to act as a bridge to your cells. So the sugar should go from your bloodstream directly into your cells, and that's how you get your energy. In a type 1 diabetic, our bodies don't produce insulin or don't produce enough for our bodies to run on it. We need some kind of an assistant to help our bodies function. So when we eat, sugar still goes into our bloodstream like normal, but instead of having a bridge between our bloodstream and the cell, our sugar just stays in our bloodstream and it keeps circulating and it's looking for a place to go out. Our bodies do try to find a way to get the sugar out of our system because it's not good to have a lot of sugar in your bloodstream, and the way that our bodies naturally filter it out is through our urine, which is kind of gross, but that's what happens, and it's in measurable things called ketones. Because our cells don't have any energy inside of them, they don't get any sugar from the food we eat, subsequently we don't have any energy and our bodies can't function properly. This is called hyperglycemia, when there's too much sugar in our bloodstreams. So how do we deal with this problem? How do we deal with the problem that our bodies are not getting any energy to supply themselves with? Well, that's what these guys are for. Not everyone uses these exact pens. Some people do have insulin pumps, but just for this video, I'm going to be talking about long-acting and short-acting insulin pens. Again, our bodies don't create enough insulin for us to function off of, so we need to find a substitute or a substitute way to get insulin into our bodies. So we use these to inject them into our systems. And I use two different kinds of pens. I have to use this pen only once a day, while I use this pen multiple times a day. Every time we eat, we intake sugar, and insulin is supposed to be a segue for sugar. So we just inject ourselves every time we eat, right? Well, it's not that simple. We have to monitor our blood sugar levels. So what is a blood sugar level? Well, it's the amount of sugar that's in our bloodstream. Very creative name, I know. Every single one of us has to carry around a little device. This is my monitor. It's the monitor that goes with an Omnipod. I don't use an Omnipod anymore, but I do still keep my device just in case I need to check my levels. This process is pretty simple. I will prick my finger and I will let the monitor read my levels. It's a little bit different for everyone, but for me, if the number is over 200, that means I need to take a shot. So I will go ahead and do that. People that don't have a continuous monitor like this one, this is not a continuous monitor. I have to manually prick my finger and let it read what my blood sugar level is. They will have to do this a lot, like more than 8 times a day on top of every time you eat. You have to do it too. I also use a continuous monitor as my first line of defense. I have the other monitor as a fail-safe just in case my continuous monitor goes out or I don't have any connection to use it because it works through Bluetooth. I use Dexcom G6. I used the G5 when it came out and then upgraded once this one came out. This little guy does almost all the work for me. So through Bluetooth, again, this little monitor on my arm connects to my phone, which shows me my glucose readings. Every 5 minutes it takes it for me. So I don't have to prick my finger anymore, and it just makes life that much easier. Right now I can just show you what it says on my phone. It'll focus on the camera. My count is 322 right now. That's not great, but I just ate. That's why it's spiking like that. It's going down, which is good. Another feature with the Dexcom, it shows you all your readings within a 24-hour period. As you can see, I had a pretty high day today, which isn't good typically, but no day will be perfect. It's impossible. We are bound to have days that are good. We can have high days, we can have low days. Some days are perfect. It really fluctuates. So going back to that graph, the number should be in the gray area on the scale, depending on how you have it set. I have mine set as gray, yellow, and red. If it's in the yellow and it's up at the top, it means I have hyperglycemia and I need to take an insulin shot, and slowly the number will go down. It's also a thing, it was a good take. So going back to that graph, the number should be between the gray area, not too low, not too high. If it's in the yellow area, then that means I have hyperglycemia and I need to take an insulin shot to bring my count back down. The number will never go down very quickly and stay in the gray. We want to bring it down slow, so that's why we have to calculate the amount of insulin we give ourselves, and we can't just give ourselves an infinite amount of insulin because it won't work. Also on the graph is the red area, which is where we do not want to be under any circumstances. To contrast, hyperglycemia is when your bloodstream has too much sugar in it. There is also hypoglycemia, which means your bloodstream has little to no sugar in it. So let's go back to the food situation. Let's say that a type 1 diabetic eats something, but they take insulin for the meal. But they didn't calculate how much insulin to take, so they took way too much. Their blood sugar level will stay about the same. It will not spike ever, which it should spike when you eat, logically, because sugar has to go into your bloodstream and then it will go back down once your cells are being fed the sugar. If the person takes too much, their blood sugar level will go up, and then it will keep going down and it will not level out, which is not what you want. Hit my elbow again on my headphones this time. Look at that. Being in the way. If they take too much insulin, their blood sugar will rise and then it will drop. It will not even out like it should. It will drop too low. This is because the insulin is still acting as a bridge to their cells, but it's pulling too much sugar out of their bloodstream. You do need a little bit of sugar in your bloodstream so your body knows that you're not starving, that you have backup energy. What ends up happening is the cells soak up all the sugar from your bloodstream, and their body thinks that they're starving. Even if they just ate a lot, they have no more energy because their body did not store any of it. None of it's going to turn into fat. There is nothing there. And they need to eat more or take some kind of sugar tablets to keep them going. Well, first off, both of them leave you with no energy in their own way. Hypoglycemia literally takes all of the sugar and energy from your body and it feeds it to your cells, which subsequently makes you have no energy because you literally have nothing in store. Hyperglycemia makes your body think it doesn't have any energy. Really, when you have hyperglycemia, you should be very energetic and you would think you'd be bouncing off the walls, which sometimes does happen because you really do have that sugar within you, but because your cells aren't getting the sugar that they need, your body sends signals to your brain that says you're tired and you need to rest. So if you have a friend that has type 1, what are some of the signs that you can look for that they are not okay and they need to check their blood sugar? For hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, you should look for them having no energy whatsoever. Their personality might change. They might be really sad. I cry when I get a low blood sugar and it'll be for no reason. I'm also very mopey. I'm very forgetful. You can tell me something like we're going to some place and immediately I'll forget and I'll ask again. that is not a good sign. You need to tell them that they're not okay, and you need to get them either medicine like sugar tablets, or they need to eat something immediately. For hyperglycemia or high blood sugar, you can look for your friend being cranky. They have no tolerance for anything. Some people might be really hyperactive. That's another way to remember hyperglycemia. People get really hyper. Next thing I want to talk about is this long-acting pen. I use this once before I go to bed every night. What this ensures is that my levels will stay mostly steady. If I didn't take this, the insulin from my short-acting would not have as good as an effect, and what would end up happening is I would have to absolutely load myself up on insulin every day, or my blood sugar would just keep rising and it would never even out. Okay, sadly with this disease there does come some limitations, especially in physical activity. With any kind of physical activity, it's great for us to have some sort of break in between. High intensity sports are really hard for us to do. It doesn't mean we can't do it. We need to plan ahead to do any kind of activity for sports, but it is almost impossible for us to not do a sport and have our count stay level. Our blood sugar will drop, because having that consistent use of energy, we need to eat more and more. This does not mean that we can't do anything within high intensity sports or high intensity activities. There are many people with type 1 diabetes that run marathons. Like, it's just something that we have to plan for. For example, I play competitive travel volleyball, and it's taken us like 8 years to figure out a good plan for us to keep my blood sugar levels steady. So it is a limitation, but it's not an impossibility. Another thing that we struggle with is mood swings, especially when our blood sugar is really high or really low. A good thing about mood swings is that usually friends, family tell us that our mood has changed, or our whole personalities can change. But it is something that we go through. It's not something that we can fix. It's just we need to stay on top of our blood sugar levels, and hopefully the mood swings will decrease. The last limitation that I'm going to mention is we need to have tight sleeping and eating schedules. Most people with type 1 diabetes eat around the same things at the same time every single day, because it is easier for us to calculate how much insulin to give ourselves. It's easier for us to calculate when our blood sugars might spike and when they might fall, and we just have to stay to our strict schedule. The benefit to sleeping at the same time every day, taking a nap at the same time every day, our body has to adjust to the feeling of sleep. When we sleep, our body naturally lowers our blood sugar range. If it's normally averaging at 180, it might drop to 114, and it'll stay there the whole night. Your body has to get used to doing that at certain times every day. If it does it at different times, then it will never get used to it, and your blood sugars will start going all over the place because your body doesn't know what you're doing. I need to take a shot because this, see that, is not going down anymore. Just to recap, type 1 diabetes is a disease that affects insulin production. Type 1 diabetics have to use insulin injections to counteract this principle. We also have to manage our blood sugar levels to make sure that we don't have hyperglycemia or high blood sugar or hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. Type 1 diabetics are limited a small amount, but they can do about anything that anyone else can do because we are awesome and we're not going to let some disease limit what we can do. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video if you liked it. Please share this video with anyone and everyone. A lot of people do not know about this disease. At least every time when someone asks me or I tell somebody, they assume that it's type 2. Type 1 and type 2 are very different, and a lot more people need to know about this kind of thing. So sharing this would be great so more people can learn about it. If you have any questions about this disease, ask me in the comments. I'll try to answer them, or maybe I'll make a video out of it. You don't know. Remember everyone to stay happy.